Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Tania Daly has returned from a wonderful place in central Vietnam called Hoi An, and she has paintings to prove it. Tania, good morning and welcome to you. Can you hear me, Tania?
I can indeed.
Oh, excellent. Okay, we've established contact. Wonderful. Well, Tania, an extraordinarily beautiful and picturesque place is Hoi An. How did you settle on this as the place for your Vietnam adventure?
We sat down and had a think about places that we might like to live for 3 months, and Vietnam seemed to tick all those boxes. It was an interesting culture, it was warm, it had beautiful beaches, it had interesting food and people and lots of colour. And when we decided on Vietnam, we talked to people about that, and overwhelmingly people said that Hoi An was the place to go.
It's just gorgeous. It is so picturesque. And I think you've described some of the attributes there, but it's rather difficult to put it in words, isn't it? It really needs something graphic, something like a painting or maybe 20.
Yeah. Well, it didn't start out being 20, but once I started and we hit on a concept that we would take photos and I would paint from the photos. And then I started to talk to the expats in the community about just what was involved in setting up, you know, like finding canvas and paint and brushes. In Hoi An, there's no shops that sell those things, so it's all sort of under counters, or our landlord ended up finding a guy who could supply me with paint, and he would turn up on a scooter. And of course, with the language barrier, there's not a lot of English.
Yes.
And so once we started talking about these adventures and trials and tribulations, people said, oh, you should write this down. And so it evolved into a series of paintings with photos, and I wrote about each of those paintings and the adventures we'd had in Hoi An. And so it kind of morphed into a series and a book.
And a book, which is called Hoi An Light and Colour. 80 pages, and I believe this is one of those beautiful coffee table type books.
Yeah, that's the one. My partner Richard did an amazing job of editing and laying out the book. And we just saw the proof a couple of days ago, so it's going to be hot off the press in time for the Arts Trail. So, exciting times.
Oh, exciting. I'm so chuffed for you. I really am. Let's just talk a little bit more about Hoi An. Did you do a painting of that wonderful bridge, the Japanese-style bridge they have there?
I sure did. I did my take on the covered bridge. And that bridge is amazing. It's a walking bridge. The centre of Hoi An is a walking city. So it's 16th century. You can wander around and see pretty much how the buildings and streets, cobble streets, were back then. And the fact that it's a walking city means that there's lots of beautiful lanterns and overhanging trees, and it's just a real sort of taste of history, really.
It is, isn't it? Lots of tailors, did you find that? Lots of people willing to make you some beautiful clothes.
I came back with quite a few clothes, and Richard came back with a suit and some shirts. And the tailors are amazing, but there's just so many tailor shops there, and you basically just take a photo on your phone and they can make anything.
And there's so many wonderful artistic people in the town itself.
There are. There's lots of artists. There's lots of people drawing and making sculptures, and there's all kinds of art going on. You're quite right. There's silk paintings and all kinds of things.
But not canvas paintings. I was sort of intrigued when you said it was difficult to get some of the tools of your trade there because there was so much art. Is it just different art that they do?
There is canvas and there is artists. The tricky thing is that they're selling finished works in the middle of Old Town, but there's not really shops that are selling canvas.
Right.
And I'd had to use Google Translate and point to things on my phone and try and sort of get across what I was trying to get.
Okay.
We had to go to Da Nang to get canvas.
Yes. You're okay. Well, that's not too far away, is it, Da Nang?
No, it wasn't too bad.
No, not too bad. How did Google Translate go, by the way?
Fantastic. If you wanted to communicate from English to Vietnamese, Vietnamese to English, not so great.
Oh, I see.
And Vietnamese is a tonal language, so there could be between five and seven different meanings to one word. So even locals who'd been there for years would say things in the local Vietnamese language and people would burst out laughing.
Right.
Because it's very, very difficult to get the tonal...
So that's the pitch,
sort of
the pitch.
Right. Yeah.
High means different to low sort of thing.
Very tricky. So mainly I communicated looking up images or... So just, if I'd go to the local sort of little shop, because there's no supermarket there.
No.
So if I wanted a pot scrubber, there's no point in putting that in Google Translate. You're better to just show them a picture of a pot scrubber. Because I did put in pot scrubber one day and the woman looked at me and that certainly wasn't what I was wanting.
We shall go no further, madam. All right. One of the things that you can't put into a painting is the food. Well, not the taste of the food anyway, and the aroma of the food. I think I had the best meal I've ever had in my life in Hoi An. I still think about it. It was transformational. It really turned me on to a whole lot of really interesting flavours and ways of treating food. Did you find the food was something that you are going to remember?
Absolutely. The Vietnamese culture really does centre around people meeting and sharing food. It's quite similar to Māori culture in that respect. And the food is just incredible. Because most Vietnamese households don't have a fridge, they go each day and they'll choose small amounts of ingredients, which is very fresh. The fish has just been caught off the boat that morning, and there'll be herbs and spices and all kinds of local flavours, and those dishes will be flash fried in a wok. And most households just have 2 gas burners. And so it's all fresh.
Yep.
It's all beautifully flavoured and seasoned. And there are so many restaurants there cooking incredible food.
Incredible.
And so cheap. We fed ourselves for sort of $20 a day. That was for all 3 meals. We didn't cook while we were there because there was no point. It was just so cheap.
Indeed. Well, Tania, you've come home with these treasures. You've now had, through your partner Richard, you've got this lovely book. And I believe this is going to be a feature of the Arts Trail this year.
That's right, it sure is. The paintings will be there and we'll have copies of the book for sale as well.
Which is just wonderful. You'll find Tania in her boat shed studio. Doesn't that sound great, by the way, Tania? You've really landed, haven't you?
Spot.
Tania's boat shed studio across the footbridge from the car park at Marine Gardens in Raumati Beach. And I've just been delighted to talk to you and delighted to hear about your experiences, and I can't wait to see the paintings.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Oh, lovely to talk to you, Tania. Thanks very much for joining us. Yes, indeed, Tania Daly. Her book is Hoi An, Light and Colour.
106.3 Beach FM.